see you.
Avatar: Fire and Ash is now streaming on Disney+. It's the film critics are calling the best Avatar yet.
Yeah! Go, 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 go!
A true epic and completely jaw-dropping.
This is the only pure thing in this world.
Return to Pandora on Disney+.
It will be an adventure for the whole family.
And watch the Oscar-winning phenomenon at home.
This is sick!
Avatar: Fire and Ash, now streaming on Disney+. Rated PG-13.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Southern U podcast. If you're new here, we talk all things land in the Southeast. My name's Taylor. I'm joined to my immediate left.
What's up?
DJ Fergie Ferg, Mr. Land Aficionado, Cattle Aficionado, and all things mischief, I'll say.
Yes, yes. I definitely like getting into trouble.
Yes, it's fun to do sometimes. And we have special guest all the way from, always from the boot, as they say, Mr. Brian Dunn of Wise Eye Technology. Man, appreciate you making the haul up here to hang out with us in person. Man.
Oh yeah, man, I appreciate it. It's been fun. You know what we did on the land today, and just getting to know you guys better, and it's been great. And I thank you guys for hosting me and letting me be here.
Shoot, man, and
I think he starred in Apocalypse too.
He did. He was a co-star of Apocalypse 2026.
Oh, yeah.
That old 30-30.
That's right. I mean, could have fooled me though. I told you, it looked like he was ready to go kill a T-Rex with that light on top of it. It was, I think, looked like it was from the future. Man, that was a good time though, and that episode actually dropped today. So if you haven't already, go check out that episode. We had some special guests in the house for that one. Shout out to Walter Tutt, or Tutt Land Company, for letting us go and get after some pigs on his place. And we had a good time, man. Ernie and Cam and Rob, all from Tethered. Rob Mendoza and Cam and Ernie were all there, and Joseph Clark from First South. And then us two. So we had a good time, man. It was a lot of fun, and got to educate Rob on some Southern cuisine.
Yeah, we talked cooking more than I think we talked anything else, which is kind of odd.
It is.
For hog camp.
For hog camp, yeah. I can tell you, though, everybody knew when I shot. Everybody else had suppressors or something like that on a gun, and I'm over there with that old 30-30.
Well, Brian shot.
I was sitting over there, and I heard boom. I was like, oh, okay, good. And then about 15 seconds later, boom again. I'm like, oh, he shot again. Here we go. So,
yeah,
slinging that lead, man. It was a good time. But, yeah, go check that episode out. It was a lot of fun. Just hanging out, and it was a way for us to say thank you to the guys that sponsor the podcast. And, almost 3 years ago now, we had no metrics to show anybody. We had no real numbers or anything to sway somebody to sponsor us.
Three guys and an idea.
Three rednecks and an idea. If we're being really honest.
Yeah.
And they took a chance on us, and proud to say that all of those people are still on board. They're sponsored us from day one, and we're of course missing a few of them. Really hope we've gotten Al from Vitalize and Randy Black Eagle Darton.
And that's just a bad time for both of them. That time of year.
Yeah, and I'm an idiot, and I planned this thing for the same weekend at the ASA Classic, so that definitely knocked Randy out.
Yeah, and Al and them. I mean, not everybody is as behind as we are when it comes to planting. So there's in July they're in the throes of really, really selling seed and getting stuff out the door for these Northerners and Midwesterners that are 2 months ahead of schedule compared to us.
Oh, yeah, we got a while.
Yeah.
If it doesn't stop raining, we're never going to plant anything.
No. My Vitalize shipment showed up today, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I did get somebody to pick it up off the side of the road, though.
Yeah, well, somebody offered to pick it up off the side of the road for you.
Strangely enough. Yeah.
Had a guy that just took it upon himself to help himself.
What is this pallet sitting off the side of the road?
Figured you were throwing it away. It was out by the road.
Yeah, exactly.
That must be for me.
Yeah. So, Uncle Corey went over there and got the forks put on the tractor and went up there and got it for me.
Shout out to Uncle Corey.
Yeah. And I do have a shout out today for Cabin Creek Forestry.
Yes.
Miss Melissa and Miss Sam and my little buddy Abe. I didn't get to see little buddy Abe this year. I guess he's 4. He might be 5 this time. But they're doing hack and squirt for Matt and Bray, and they did a little bit for me, but primarily they were using backpacks for me. And let me tell you something, them folks work.
Oh yeah, sounds like it.
I think they've sprayed 125, 130 acres. It's what time is it? It is 3:00 on Thursday, and they started at about 3:30 on Tuesday afternoon. That's getting with it, fellas.
That's getting after
moving.
it. Yeah, he's talking about backpack sprayers. I don't know
Yes.
if he said that or not, but
Yes, backpack, and it's a crew of 8, I believe, plus the foreman. So
They getting with it.
they moving, and
Yeah.
they do a phenomenal job. So it's a project that we'll see on the podcast, and we'll talk about quite a bit. Dr. Kane owns the particular track, and it's not too far from where we have and host the dove hunt.
yeah,
But his description for us, what he wanted was, I want the Augusta of turkey hunting. And I just kind of looked and I was like, okay, that's manicured.
oh, very much so.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I said, it don't take anything but time and good people and money. I said, you just going to have to trust us with the process. And so we started cutting timber and doing road work. So we started cutting timber in February, finished up end of April. So we had a full growing season on the understory. So we ran the backpack crew through the understory and just went ahead and knocked out our hardwood competition. Yes, we could have done it with fire, but if you're wanting the Augusta of turkey hunting, we're gonna speed things up, and we're not gonna take any chances of anything getting away from us.
Yeah,
So,
that's pretty
and
tall order.
yep. So we've got a skid steer root rake, a Mini X set down, and we've got a high track D6 and a 300 class excavator on the ground, and we are moving dirt.
Moving dirt, baby.
Nice.
Yep. It's it's going to be a show place when we're done.
Absolutely.
When did you start the process?
We started it in February.
Oh, this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
With this project, because how Doc moves, once he sees a product and that's what he's after, as long as we don't run into timber issues, it's really kind of full steam ahead. So generally a project like that would take me 4, maybe 5 years. We'll have his done in 2.
Just because.
Yeah, he's got the vision.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to spend the money to do things right the first time, instead of let's do it this way and pinch a little penny here, pinch a little penny there. Don't get me wrong, we don't waste money.
No.
We're not going to do that, but we're gonna move in with big machines. We're not going to move slow, and then once we get what I kind of have, honestly, is I've got a big crew that's heavy earth movers, big tree movers, and then I have a finesse crew that they're working in tandem, but the finesse crew comes in and they really, really polish things up. When this Jim Williams is my guy, when he's done, it's right.
Yeah. Well, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Kane as well, because not this past hunting season, but hunting season before then. I've got a good friend, and I've mentioned him a little bit. We were talking last night a little bit, and he at the time didn't have a functioning kidney, and we didn't know. He's been a very good friend of mine he's probably my best friend, but for years, and we always hunted together. We went leases together and spent time. Well, he moved to North Louisiana and then found out about this whole, and he did not have a functioning kidney. I mean, dialysis every night.
Wow.
And the prognosis was not good. He was on the list, but he was way down the list. And it had gotten to the point where it was kind of that if he's going to go anywhere and he's going to have any kind of hunt, he's got to do it because this may be the last.
Yeah.
And so he and I wanted to kind of do something together, but he couldn't do things that he and I normally did together. So I called up Mark and got to talking to him, and he said, come up here. And my deal was, I'm going to buy a license. I'm just going to go sit somewhere.
Yeah.
Because this is not about me. I'm just going to go – y'all stick me in a blind somewhere and just forget about me that I'm even here. This is him. I want him to have an opportunity. And in the meantime, which I didn't know, Mark had called Dr. Kane and said, here's what we've got. We've got a guy. He's lived – his whole life has been around hunting. He hasn't been able to in the past few years. This may be – not saying it is, but unless he gets a kidney, this is going to be probably one of his last.
Yeah.
And Dr. Kane said, take him. And so Mark spent time with him on that particular piece of property. I just kind of hung out around and done things over on Mark's property, just kind of hung out. And my buddy got a shot, got a nice deer off of Dr. Kane's property.
Awesome.
And
Nice.
I just want to say, thank you to people like that. Yes, he's doing what he's doing to improve the property that you guys are working on, but it's not all about him.
No, it rarely is.
Yeah, to have that vision and say, I'm going to spend this, but when there's a need or when there's an opportunity arise for me to take what, and this is coming from him, and this is not his words, but to make a difference in somebody else's life, I'm going to. So we certainly appreciated what he done for Paul. And
oh yeah,
and
he's a fine a human as I know, and I think he has that reputation with most, because I've never seen him lose his cool or heard anybody talk about having a bad experience with him. But he's a fine fella.
Well, I certainly can tell you he made a difference for Paul, and then Paul did end up getting a transplant, but now it has started 2 years later, started functioning a little bit, and they're stopped being quite so concerned if his body's going to – he's at 30%. He's not like – he's got one kidney that's operating at 30%, but it's not he's not out of the woods, but he at least got a transplant. But at the time, we didn't know.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it means something to him, and we certainly appreciated it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, for my shout-out real quick before we get into the topic, I don't know if we actually ever said this on the podcast, but I want to give a shout-out to Mark Brenner and Misty for letting us hang out in the booth and kind of have the booth at the World Deer Expo a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Super generous, did not have to do that. It was a big deal for us and saved us a lot of money, and it's a big-time show, and it's hard to get into that show and all those sort of things. So, Mark, we appreciate you, man. You do a ton for us, and we just appreciate the generosity.
Yep.
But with that being said, we got Brian here, so obviously we're going to talk camera stuff. But I kind of wanted to make this disclaimer first. We filmed some stuff today out in the field, and I'll put that together, video together for YouTube, and you guys can see that here in the next few weeks. But I just want to take a second and let you guys understand, like, this is not a infomercial episode for Wise Eye. Like, it's, we think they're good cameras and those sort of things, but we're going to talk about just kind of some general, trail camera knowledge, tips, tricks, things like that, I think ultimately if you're running cameras, whether they be cell cameras or just standard, SD cameras or something like that, it'll just make you a little bit more mindful of how you use them and, hopefully make you a better hunter, because we're going to talk about how I guess what things maybe you shouldn't do with your cameras and things of that nature. But just wanted to say that this is look. I think even today in the field, you were like, look, in the perfect world, I'd love for everybody to just throw every camera you got in the garbage and then go buy a bunch of Wise Eyes or something. But the truth is, that's not going to happen. Number one. Number two, we couldn't handle it if they did.
It's not realistic.
No.
I mean, look, every company, it's kind of like, we made that analogy. There's Ford, Chevy, Toyota, Nissan, you name it. And no one brand can. They might be able to say in their marketing plan might be, hey, we're going to get as many people as we possibly can. And Wise Eye's in business to get people to operate and run their camera. But the fact of the matter is no one company is big enough to handle
all of it,
all the need for everybody. And, we had this come up at a recent show. Somebody else had another brand of camera. It doesn't matter what brand of camera, but I was very familiar with that brand of camera, and I was talking to him about it, and he was having some issues. And I said, well, look, here's what you can do to fix it. And we walked through fixing it, and I spent probably 20, 30 minutes talking to him about his setup and what he had. And he come back through the next day, and he taps me on the shoulder and he says, hey, man, you were right. I got all this. It's working like it's supposed to. And I'm like, well, man, I'm glad you're running because, number one, and we've said it. Do we want to grow Wise Eye? Well, yeah, but the fact of the matter is I think it's illogical to think, nor would it be good for me to suggest that everybody just go throw everything that they've got in a garbage can.
That's right.
And go out and run to your local wherever and go buy all Wise Eyes. Do we have some stuff about us that makes us special? Yeah. But the fact of the matter is what I want is for the industry to be better. What I want is somebody to have a good time and a good experience, and it enhance what they're doing in the outdoors. And because what it doesn't matter. You name the brand. When the picture shows up on your phone, it gives you a window into what you were not there to see.
Yeah.
And that's important to me.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, I know it's that time of year. Everybody's, at least if you don't have cameras out right now, you're going to soon. Most people are trying to get inventory, figure out what's on the landscape and how many mature bucks do I have, or, whatever, how many just total number of deer maybe are on your place, because a lot of that influences other decisions you're going to make throughout the course of the season.
Yep.
And you kind of had to know where to start. So I think it's a good timely topic, and I guess we can just kind of jump in for the first one here. Brian, your opinion, what are some of the biggest mistakes hunters make when it comes to trail camera placement? I know we talked about it in the field today a little bit, but is there anything that you've seen just over the years of people kind of facing them into the sun, or maybe or other things that?
Yeah, when you talk about placement, I think number one, not looking at where they've got it pointed. Sun rises in the east, sets in the west. Mm-hmm. You point it towards west. Of course, some of these things can get a little different when you're down in the timber. When you're down in the timber, it's different than when you're on the edge of a power line or a field or right of way or something like that, where you have the ability for that west sun or that east sun to be staring that camera right in the face.
Right.
And it's getting movement on it, but all you see is a bright light. So those are those things that it's pretty easy to think about that's a common mistake. Knowing your prevailing wind for your area, and also not taking a critical eye and looking at your setup. If you're out setting things up, take a critical eye, stand behind it, and look at what could possibly cause you a situation, because you name the brand of the camera, everybody's got what they call false triggers. Yeah. And when they call a false trigger, it's not necessarily a false trigger. It's something has waved itself and activated the zones of that camera and caused it to take a picture. Now, sometimes that's not bad when the wind's not blowing, or we don't have a front coming through or something like that. But that one leaf that's pretty big and it's attached to something, and it goes The things that you have to look out for are those things that will go all the way across
and back.
and back. They will cause triggers all day. Now, some of these things, there's nothing you can do about it. For instance, if you're in a short pine thicket, you're watching a clear cut, and it's got things growing. You can't just go out there with a mowing machine and mow it all down. So you have to kind of live with a little bit of it. Most of these camera companies have the area where you can just go in and turn off motion detection right now. And I've done that. And when a front was coming through, just turn off motion detection because it was in short pines, and I'm getting pictures, and there's really nothing you can do about it. So you just turn off motion detection.
Especially when you hang it on something that's moving itself.
Yeah, we've all done that. There's another tip: mount it on something that's solid. If you possibly can, T-post or something like that. Most companies, brands have got a T-post mount or something like that you can mount it to. But the other thing that I see is, as easy as you would think it would be, people tend to mount cameras pointed down a trail. If they've got it on a scrape, they've got it coming into the scrape. If they're mounting it on a hole in the fence, they've got it coming into the fence, pointed directly at the hole, as opposed to on an angle or left to right, right to left. One of the things that I always try to do is I try to put it at an angle, southwest wind. That way, when I do get some of that movement of wind, that it's doing this as opposed to going all the way across the front of that camera. Things that I can't remove, things that I'm willing to deal with. And then just don't set them up straight on. You know, if they've got a trail coming up the hill, they'll put it at the top of the trail, pointing it down. My biggest thing is keep it catty-cornered if possible. Always left to right, right to left. Where whatever you're chosen, and you're getting a good profile of it and not a direct on. Most cameras don't do well when your target is walking to it. It doesn't activate enough zones to set that camera off. And then what typically happens is you end up getting a hind end or a tail wag or a back leg, because it's walked up basically. And when it gets to the closest point to where it's activated enough zones walking straight on, it turns, because it ain't gonna walk and boom right up into the camera or the tree. Right. So it turns one way or another, and we end up with the butt end of it. So a left to right, right to left, that to me is, from a setup standpoint, vital. Don't set it facing the east. Don't set it facing the west. Now, what you can do, you kind of refrain from that on the camera, but if you're running a solar panel, you want it to get as much left to right, east to west, move where it comes up.
Set her in the south.
Yep. That way you get it.
For us down here anyway.
Yep. That way you get as much sunlight as possible. Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I had not given a whole lot of thought to the head-on type placement, because most of the time, you do want to see what's coming down that trail, I guess, or if it's a scrape, or around here, I know it's probably a little bit more common in the Midwest for there to be a gap in the fence or something like that. And I'm sure there's probably places down here, but that's a pretty common thing up there. If there's a gap in the fence, that's where they're going to cross at.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, being able to kind of get a little bit more, side view instead of head on, probably is a better.
Depending on your camera, you can get a great view, and if it's antlers you're looking at, if it's bucks, then people are real interested in it. If you take a stick, a climbing stick, one that you would normally use, like get up in your saddle or whatever you want to use, and get it up. And the one thing with most cameras is you can get them pointed at, because in this particular instance, you don't necessarily need to see everything that's going on. You're focusing on a particular spot. So if you can elevate it and point it at that spot where it crosses and gets zones activated, you'll get the top part.
Gotcha.
And get that vision, and it's out of the line of sight. Particularly if you're hunting mature bucks, sometimes they can get squirrely with cameras. The more mature.
I've seen I've seen deer act that way, and it's individual deer. You know, they all have personalities like we do. So, some of them just, man, they don't like being around, electronics, whether it be a camera, feeder, whatever, or something that's just new.
Yeah. Yeah, it is weird how they seem to have a sixth sense. You may get them, but they're not fully in frame. They're way off, kind of deal. So, it's kind of strange how they'll do sometimes.
Well, they give off electronic.
It does.
A little bit of noise. They all have a little bit of noise. If you hear them go off, and the low glow, a little bit of color. And if anybody, night hunting's got pretty big for coyote predators. Go out and look at one of these cameras under night vision. The IR is a lot brighter than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They show up through the woods in
Yeah.
night vision. I mean, stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, so everybody's got a Bigfoot story,
Uh-oh.
Something that scares them, when they're walking in. And so me and my son were walking in on some public ground. It's been several years ago, and I had a camera, and I had put it just about chest, kind of looking at a spot. And we were walking in there, and I knew I was hunting in that area, but wasn't thinking about that particular camera being there. And we've got the flashlight, and we're going in the green, we're going through there, and we come around the corner, and all of a sudden these two red orbs glow up. And I'm like, oh, and for a minute, you're like, oh God,
What is that?
what is that? And then you realize, oh, it's my camera,
Yeah.
But yeah, so when you're in low glow, absolutely, there's a visible, low glow infrared flash.
Yep, for sure. And I think that's. Do you feel like that's, as far as sales go, just across the board, not just Wise Eye, but just across the board? Do you feel like people are lean more towards the low glow or the no glow or black?
Low glow.
Really?
Yeah, low glow.
Is it just as a price point, or is it
price point, and then where they putting them? So your public land hunters, guys that are going into timber after more mature bucks, and they know them, they would typically focus on a no glow blackout camera. But we've got in most areas that bait. And if you're on private land, there you've got, in some instances where I live, you've got generations of deer that have grown up on a particular piece of property that are eating out of the same feeders that their great-grandpa or great-grandmother or matron doe that's 12, 15 years old is eating out of. And they have become accustomed to these sites, and they have grown up with strobe light cameras.
Oh, yeah.
From way back before there was even cellular. You're talking about something that was
how we didn't run all the deer out of the country with those flash cameras. I'll never know.
I mean, and they've gotten accustomed to flashes and whiz bangs, and it don't bother them. And a great majority of is that type of situation. When you're talking about Texas and Louisiana, in particular where I live at, I can just call it Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. Probably some now Alabama because of feeding. You can do feeding and things like that. So you get these deer that even they may be a mature buck, but it's grew up in this area, but you take it and move it away from there. It's fine in the area where
they're used to it.
They're accustomed to it. You move it down in the timber on his rub line or close to where he's bedding at. That's a complete different story. What you can get away with, and that's when. But on that, you've got a lot more feeders, a lot more people hunting and participating and getting surveys and studies and things like that around that. So the low glare tends to be the majority, and then the blackout and the black. The no glare for those others situations.
It's funny you talk about deer getting used to things. This feels like a lifetime ago, but when I was living in Georgia, I knew some guys that worked were contractors in the forestry industry, and they weren't bashful about poaching, just to say it bluntly. And they'd put cameras out on properties that they were working on. If they found a big deer, they'd go after him. They'd kill him at night, and they'd find these deer with the flash cameras, pouring corn out, working, and they'd get a time on the deer, when they were coming in and out, and they'd put a little lock-on stand up, and they said that they could get in the tree, and they wouldn't sit there long. They would go about when the deer was going to be there, an hour before, and said they'd let the camera go off, and you could kind of see, and they both said you could take a flashlight, just kind of bump it, like just flash, like the flash, and then eventually you just leave it on. And they just stand there and they'd shoot deer with a flashlight with a bow at night.
Incredible.
That's a case where that's not exactly how they were designed to be.
No,
but hey, I mean,
it's what they can become accustomed to.
Well, it's
right?
like I said the other night, and I did say it the other night talking to some guys, but I said on podcast a couple of weeks ago, if you've got half a brain and a little bit of money, you can get away with poaching. You can. I mean,
it's when people start bragging about it's what gets them in trouble.
Yes. If they tell anybody, they get caught.
Yeah.
You can't be a good poacher and talk about it.
Unfortunately, that's the demise of all these guys killing deer on the side of the road.
There used to be a group that ran around here years ago that they eventually got caught, but they were riding around in just like a standard old gray color, like it was a late 80s, I think, Buick Skylark. And they'd ride around and shoot deer at night out of that thing. And they'd have, cheap rifles with serial numbers filed off. They get caught, get stopped, but they just chunk it out the window and just keep going.
I just could never bring myself to be. Now, I'm not saying I've never made mistakes, but I could never be a poacher.
No.
I could not bring. I'd be scared to death.
Me too.
I am not.
Well, my thing is just like what you said, you can do it and get away, but you can't talk about it. Well, then why do it? If I can't show somebody, check out this deer I shot or whatever, then I don't want to shoot it. Then what I mean. That's kind of takes away. You can't tell the story, and that's what most of them. 90% of us. You hunt for the story,
that's right.
You can share that with somebody else, and you can't do that. So
well, I'm sure people think I was an outlaw or ran with outlaws or whatever because I know all this, but you kind of got to remember that I did work in game and fish, so we knew the good ones and we knew the bad ones.
Let's see. Next question here, Brian. All right, so I realize that everybody is not going to be. I don't know. This isn't a question for everyone. But for those of you who are trying to take out specific deer, whether that be bucks or does, this is a buck question, but I'm not advocating that everybody has to be a trophy hunter. We don't care. Just go have fun.
Shoot your spike and be quiet about it.
Yes, have fun. Who cares?
Yep.
But with this particular person, if you are the type of guy who likes to, whether that be public or private, target very specific deer, when you're trying to pattern a mature buck, what should you actually be looking for in your trail camera data besides just did he show up?
That's a great question, and trail cams have gotten such a bad name recently. People saying, "Oh, I put him out and I seen him on camera. I ran out there and got him." Well, that gets the big. That's kind of one of those spicy stories. I seen him on camera. I ran out there and got it. Typically,
it gets all the publicity.
Typically, that's not how it works.
Right.
By the time you get there, the deer's gone, or you didn't take the right wind to go in there to him, and you blew him out by the time he got there, and things like that. So, that type of thing happens. But my mentor, one of my mentors in the hunting industry. Or my career, when I was a way young man, he told me years ago, he said, "Brian, listen, and he'd do these little talks with me, and he said, "Listen, if you want to kill deer, you need to become a woodsman.
Yeah.
Woodsman will kill, and we're talking about killing animals. So
Right.
Woodsman will kill the best or the most mature or whatever it is that they're after on a regular, consistent basis because they've become a woodsman.
Right.
Woodsmen knowing the direction of the wind, knowing the habits of their quarry, whatever it is that they're going after, whether that's elk, white-tailed deer, if it's coyotes, coons, whatever, a woodsman, whatever he chooses to go after, is going to be successful doing that. And then the next thing he said is, Brian, here's another tip. He said, when you walk out your door, now this is back before Onyx and all this kind of good stuff. This is 30 years ago. And I'm running maps that you order from the Geological Survey with and I have a compass and I have a GPS, and I'm taking those coordinates and putting it on the map, and things that I'm finding when I'm turkey hunting. I'm marking this rub down on this map. But he's like, Brian, here's one thing you need to know. When you walk out your door in the morning, you need to know which way the wind is blowing and where you need to go sit according to how the wind is blowing, where you are. And he told me a story, and I'm going to about the camera thing, but he told me a story. He said, I killed a buck one time. He said he was virtually where his home core was, not because he was daylighting and darkened and he was nocturnal. He knew the intricacies of his particular area that he lived at so good that he played the wind to his advantage no matter where he was going. He said, and I killed that deer. I said, all right, tell me how. Well, now milkweed has kind of got to be the big thing. He said, and I forget what he said he used. He said, but I learned there was almost a cul-de-sac in that territory. It was a ridge that kind of did this and curved around. And the wind, no matter which way in that spot, when the thermal started rising, the wind would basically create a tunnel and go direct straight up.
Yeah.
He said it was a slight thing. He said I sat in the tree as high up as I could get right there. And when he come, but my wind, no matter which way he was funneling up, he said, I killed that deer sitting in that tree doing that. He said, now you have to be a woodsman and learn your particular piece of property that you're hunting. Now let's talk about how the cameras help you do that.
Yeah.
He had time. He had resources. We were talking about today about trading time for.
Yep.
He would get off from work, and he was constantly walking through the particular piece of properties that he was hunting. He was constantly making notes. He was constantly looking at maps. He was constantly checking the wind. If it was a southwest wind, what did it do where I'm right here? If it's a north wind, what's it doing? Where's it going? How's it working on this particular piece of property? So how does cameras help you harvest the animal that you're after? First, in our busy lives, they use a term in law enforcement, and you may have heard this before, Jeremy. It's force multiplier. When you look at a camera, that's what it's doing, is it's multiplying the places that you can be at any given time. Because we can only be at one spot getting wind directions at one time. When you're setting out cameras, in my opinion, and how if we use them this way with the data that they can collect now, particularly with the way a Wise Eye work, you set it up and it's got the GPS coordinates of where that camera's at. It's going to tell you the wind direction of that day. And all the cameras are, they're snapshots of data. What happened right now? There's a deer. The wind's blowing southwest at 7 miles an hour. It's 130 millibars of barometric pressure. It's 70 degrees. if the moon is waxing or waning, or it's full and it's 3/4, whatever. It gives you all of this information, and then it can take and help you. What may have taken months to take each individual picture and say, on a southwest wind, they like to use this back part of this property. On the north, when it's blowing north wind, they may like this section of the property. And I think that when someone uses the cameras to learn a particular piece of property and learn how the local deer use that particular piece of property, if you have a mature buck that is using a particular piece of property and you know how the does are using that particular piece of property, where they go when it's a north wind, where they go when it's a west wind, know where they go when the barometric pressure, know if they like to move in whatever gauge of our temperature, our time. It helps you narrow down the herd. And where the herd is, when it gets that time of year, he's going to come through there. And if you figure out how a particular buck is using a particular piece of property, it's not about the spot where the camera's at. It's about how they're using the property.
Yep.
Because we too many times think deer are going nocturnal because they're not coming in front of the camera that we've got set up in that particular spot. But we're not paying attention on how they're using a particular piece of property. Where are they coming from? I would much rather people, and you know, in my world, hey, just go buy more cameras.
Sure.
But if you can't, watch and see what happens for a particular particular time in that area, then move it. If they're getting there at 8 o'clock at night and they're consistently getting there at 8 o'clock at night, now everybody, this is particular where you can actually do this on a particular piece of property. Move it back. Go 100 yards. Go to a saddle. Go to a hole in the fence. Go to a ridge top. Find out where these deer are at and where they feel comfortable moving, and learn how they're using the property.
Yeah,
That's important.
They're not 5 miles away, and all of a sudden they're on your camera at 8 o'clock. They're close. You know, they just haven't made it to your camera.
Just haven't made it.
You know,
and then look at access and egress according to where. Pay attention to that. Too many times we feel like, and we're talking about mature bucks now, right? What you can get away with a yearling or sometimes does around feeders and things like that, that ain't a mature buck. You're not going to get away with that. Now, when they get into rut, hey, all bets are off. You may get a buck come through that you've never seen before. But in my opinion, take surveys and learn your property. Try to take those cameras to take that learning curve and condense it down to something that's manageable, as opposed to it taking 3 years to learn a particular piece of property.
Yeah.
Condense it down into 6 months or so and learn it.
Well, one of the things I have found somewhat interesting, and you don't see it, to me, as much in the South as you do the Midwest and the northern states, because my assumption is it's primarily because the land ownership patterns are a little bit smaller. Where we live, land ownership patterns tiny because it's a huge population. But you get South Alabama, most of our clients are north of 1,000 acres, and yeah, there's big farms in the Midwest, but I would hazard a guess that average probably 200 or 300 acres, maybe totally off. I don't know. They just don't seem to be real big farms. As folks will, almost like we talk about predator swamping. Predators with fawns, getting them all out there at the same time. It seems like a growing number of people are swamping their particular piece of property with cameras, like 1 every 10 acres for a period of time, and figuring out, kind of how deer are reacting and how they're moving through that property. And I think that adds a level of success to what they're doing and able to do. But, you know, at a certain point, once you reach a certain acreage, that's tough. I mean,
Yes.
you know, we got clients with 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 10,000 acres. I mean, my gosh.
You're talking.
1,000 cameras. You know, that's a
can
data
be,
plan.
Right.
I think there is a lot of valuable information, and I like the name, you know, that y'all use, that Wise Eye Data Cam.
That's it.
Because they are more than a camera now. They're capturing a lot of data that you can use to make yourself more successful.
And it's a tool.
Yep.
It's not the end all. It's like when I started bow hunting 35 years ago. You know, to have a rangefinder. I might be showing my age. But back then, the first kind of production rangefinder was you look through a hole.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And you dial it in, and when all the pictures aligned,
up.
you looked at the dial on the top, and it said 20.
Oh yeah.
You know, but now you got electronic rangefinders. Well, the electronic rangefinder doesn't make the shot for you.
No.
It gives you that it's 20 yards. You know, and the good ones where they can put the curvature for the bow, or take into consideration the bullet drop, and tell you aim at such and so and so and so. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it's, you know, is it 20 yards or is it 25 yards? And again, it doesn't make the shot for you. You still have to pull the bow. You still have to go through your mechanics. You still have to make the thing work. Mm-hmm. But it's a tool to use while you're in the woods. The same thing that everything that's come about in the past 30 plus years for hunting, it doesn't, if you use it correctly, it's going to help.
Right.
But cameras, you name whatever it is, it should never take the place of solid woodsmanship.
That's right.
And if you're going to consistently, we're not talking about something every now and then, given the time, but if you're going to consistently take the best animal that's on your particular piece of property, you have to figure out how to be a woodsman, read the sign.
Well, these guys that I know that are tremendously good public land hunters, they're obviously good woodsmen, but they have figured out, and I'm not lumping them all in to this, but most of them have figured out 1 or 2 spots on public land where they can go kill those deer. It's not like everywhere they go they're killing these giant bucks. It's like, for example, a friend of mine, Jim Ward. I mean, he's consistently told me through the years that during the opening day of rifle season on such and such tract of public land, you can sit in this tree and I will loosely guarantee there'll be 140, 150 inch deer come by there. Well, it's because he's figured out that there's a back way into this particular piece of property. All the hunters, or primarily all the hunters, come from another area. This is one spot that deer can cross from this point to this point, and that's where you're going to kill deer. I mean, you got to have the added pressure to be successful of the hunters. And these guys that are really successful on some of this Alabama ground, they're finding these individual points that you're talking about, where the wind does something specific, or this is the only place here that a deer can go from over there to over here.
Yes.
He's got to come right here.
Yep.
And they're just the ones that have got out and found these locations.
Yes. So I think you summing this up, how do you get it to what I've done with my grandson, what I've done with my son, and it was a perfect opportunity to say what you're talking about here. You find something, and you take your mental notes, and I play this game with my grandson and my son all the time. I'll say, here's what I think's going on. And I'll say it out loud. I think they're laying over here. I think they're using this bench.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think they're going to end up over here. So I'll draw a hypothesis on, I think, what's going on. And in your particular case, the pressure is pushing them somewhere. I think, and they, whether they've ran across it, found out, however that it happened, but they've got a hypothesis on what's going to happen. They've got a couple, 2 or 3, 4 years of doing the same thing, and it's happened. So you know there's something happening there, right? But draw a hypothesis, figure out what you think is going on, hang a couple of cameras.
Yep. Yeah, the ground truth it.
And see if that's what's happening. Are they using it in this particular piece of wind or this particular wind direction? Are they using the side hill? Are they coming across this saddle? And let it hang there and see what happens and see if your hypothesis is proven, or it was 4 weeks and I ain't seen nothing.
Right.
You know, so then try to figure out, okay, well, there's deer sign here. Why did they stop all of a sudden?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know?
Well, and I hate to give credit to our little buddy Matt, but he's an all right hunter.
He's okay, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, he's killed a number of good bucks in the location, and he said, you know, talking through it, he's like, you know, for a couple of years, he said, I just couldn't figure out why, deer were busting me right here because the wind was right. And he said, I got to playing with things and checking wind and dropping, you know, milkweed seed and using puffers. He said, I finally figured out that right here on this little hill, on this opening, he said, the right wind is the wrong wind. So when the wind was,
because it was a bowl.
Yeah, he's like, you know, if the wind is blowing from my stand to the deer, he said that's actually right because of the way it eddies in this particular spot. He said if I sit there to hunt with the wind and me be downwind, he said the way that it eddies, it takes my wind right back to the deer. And he said it took me, you know, a little time to figure that out. And now, you know, he goes in and hunts a place totally on the wrong wind for most people's thought process, and that's when he kills his deer. It's
amazing. Do y'all use the? I know the milkweed, but they got a company, and I can't remember what the name is. I'm drawing a blank. It's in a little bit of, and you just pull it and.
Yeah, well, that's actually a collaborative deal with Drawn, Archery, and Tethered. But yeah, they have, like, clips on, and you just pull liquid out of it. Yeah,
I've got a little mesh bag with milkweed just stuffed in it. Like when I go to Kansas every year, when we hang stands September, late September, early October. I pick a bunch of milkweed pods, put in my little box. I got enough milkweed to last all of us the rest of our lives.
Let it dry out.
I like it so much more than the puffer. I mean, I used to do the puffer, but the puffer, it gives you like what's happening right here.
Yeah.
And same thing. I was hunting a mature buck, and I didn't kill him. It wasn't just I just ran out of time. But I noticed you'd set up in the traditional way, where the wind coming off the clear cut. I was in a tree, and it would go into the tall timber.
Uh-huh.
And I had thought they were coming this way, so I'm like, I'm set up right. But I'd get blown out. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't understand. And a couple of times I got blown out by the buck, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I had not paid too much attention. I had thrown a puff and just let it by, and I was like, it's perfect. I don't understand. So I threw one up, and I got a real small one, and I pulled it, and I let it go. And it took, I said, okay, see, it's right. And about 30 minutes later, I looked out in the clear cut, and there it was. It just kind of it had went down, just like you talked. It had went down, and it was because of the air coming off of the trees, and it had hit the taller trees and swirled.
Yep.
And was going right back out at the low, right back into the clear cut. And they loved walking that area, and that was why they loved, because they basically created a scent tunnel right down the edge of that clear cut. But if you caught it where the wind was, like you said, almost opposite, if you caught it where the wind was coming off the tall trees, it would blow, and if you got there just right, right when it started heating up in the thermals, it'd go, you could drop it, and it'd head out, and about 25, 30 yards outside, and
there she goes.
straight up. And so just kind of that same thing. And unfortunately, I had messed up a couple of times with my time and got blown out by thinking I was doing it right.
Right.
And then that was where, a camera had told me where they were moving.
Yep.
But I had done it wrong and hadn't thought about the way the wind was acting.
Right.
I thought I was setting up correctly. So, yeah, to me, studying the data that it gives you, but then putting some human thought into it. Why?
Yep.
Why is it a northwest wind? Why is it a southwest wind?
No doubt.
A lot of times their approach can tell you a whole lot about where they're actually coming from. I know that sounds obvious, but sometimes deer approach are kind of odd. It'll take them a long way around to get to where a straight line distance isn't anywhere. They may walk the full length of a drain all the way around and approach differently in certain wind. So
they're masters at it.
oh yeah,
Well, I mean,
they live there every day.
Well, their life depends on it.
That's it.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that I think sometimes we forget that, like, they are trying their absolute best to not die.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing everything in my power to, like, I'm not going to do anything that I feel like puts my life in danger.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is not I'm trying to miss school traffic.
Right.
Right.
This is me. This is me trying my best to not endanger myself. And if there is anything that's just a little bit off about this, I'm just not going over there. I'm just going to go somewhere else. And I think sometimes we sort of forget that, especially when I'm bad about when I do run cameras. You'll get one consecutively. You'll just get picture, and you're like, all right, here we go. And then you go hunt, and the deer doesn't show up. And it's like, well, what's going on? Like, well, they're just trying to not die. And they were notified of your presence some way, somehow. They knew you were there.
We talked about that deer that we had where you and Kyle hunted last year. I mean, a great deer. Two great deer, actually. One of them got poached, got shot on the highway, head cut off of him. But, I mean, this deer was there every day. I'm talking like not miss a day in this particular field, either out in the field, eating clover or coming to the feeder. And, of course, obviously when the rut gets closer, things change, their patterns change. But I hunted that deer when wind was right for what I thought pretty consistently. And when I hunted that deer, he was not there. When I did not hunt that deer, he was there. And I still don't exactly know if he was getting wind or we were walking by or exactly what was up, because I don't set out a lot of cameras. My cameras stay where they are. They haven't left the tree since last year. They're still hanging there. I'll go put new batteries in them. That's all I'll do. And so I didn't have a lot of information other than he's here, all these days, and he's here at specific times, and they were consistent. But it don't matter what tools you have. Like Taylor said, they're trying not to die. Yep. So it's not like they're going to walk out there and go, give me your best shot, big boy.
Yeah. Let's see if I can survive that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it takes woodsmanship, and of all people, I'm talking about don't hunt lazy, and I do oftentimes, because I'm not that mad at them anymore. Yep. But this technology, I think some of the technology has a tendency to make some of us a little lazier.
For sure.
I would caution against anybody, and I don't care what kind of camera they're using, not going hunting
because of the camera.
Because they're not getting a picture on the camera. please understand, wherever you've got this camera, if you got it in a field, it's a little further than that because you can kind of see what's back in it. But if you're in timber, it's about a 50-yard around spot.
That's it. Mm-hmm. They've got all that other acreage to be,
or just directly behind it.
I mean, they walk right behind it.
Yes.
It doesn't get it. They just decided today to walk behind the tree and not in front of the tree. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to go hunt because you hadn't seen him in 3 days.
Right.
Yep.
That's where learning the particular piece of property and knowing the sign that's there and being confident in your own hunting ability and your own understanding that unless somebody walked through last night and just mowed them all down, I almost like days that I don't get pictures.
Yeah.
Because I know law of averages. If he's coming through regularly and he hadn't got shot,
it's just a matter of being there.
Yeah.
I almost want to go on a day, 2 or 3 days after I haven't got a picture of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Because my law of averages is if I do everything right, I'm just liable to sneak up on him that day.
Yeah.
He's liable. This may be his day that he's coming through.
Yeah.
And then hunt it 2 or 3 days. But please don't when you're not getting pictures, say I'm not going to hunt.
Yep. No, we all fall into that trap, or a lot of us do. I mean, a perfect example, and anybody that wants to hunt a whitetail, you get these 2 deer on camera, and you're going every chance you get. But in Kansas, we had that deer, husband and wife duo killed both of these deer, but they had a very, very small lease next to our tract that was like 2,000 something acres. And we had history with these 2 deer for 3 years. When the husband killed the biggest one, I think it was 228 and some change. And then the wife killed one, I think was 198. I had both of them on camera, and we were struggling because we don't use a lot of cameras up there because then clients and customers, what you got on camera? I want to go hunt there.
Yeah.
So we don't use a lot other than scouting a little bit preseason. And I was struggling to figure out because we were getting pictures of them both in one location. Then we were only getting pictures of the smaller deer, the crazy deer. He was a crazy kind of non-typical deer. We were getting pictures of him almost every night at this one big scrape on the farm, but nobody was seeing them, and I was like, "What? Where are they going? How are they getting from back there on this backside through all this prairie ground, through all this river bottom, and none of our guys are seeing them?" And I struggled with that. And when they ended up being killed and where they were going, it made perfect sense. They were cutting a corner, dropping into the creek bottom, and coming up on one fence line. I mean, it's just one of those spots that we don't go in because it's hard to hunt because of the wind.
Yeah.
And those deer obviously know that.
Well, they know it.
Yeah. They go down in there, they're going to smell everything.
Yep.
So we kind of stay out. But that allowed them to get across our property onto, this little 80 over here, and both die in a relatively short amount of time.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
But cameras can't tell you everything.
They can't, but they can if you use them the correct way.
Right. They can help you.
They certainly can pinpoint how deer are moving on your property.
Yep.
So on that same topic, Brian, I'm interested. This is good. I don't know. I think it's a decent question here. I know that not just with Wise Eye, but just in this industry, you've worked in there for several years. You have seen probably a lot of data that has been collected from whether your personal cameras, other people's, other clients, whatever. What is one piece of data that is surprising to you, I guess, that maybe if it's something that Wise Eye collects, I know that, whether that's like what, barometric pressure or moon phase. Or like, what is there any specific piece of data that has made a difference, or you just feel like I kind of sold myself short on that one? I didn't think it was going to make that big a deal.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, the one thing that I pay attention to a lot on the cameras is wind.
Wind, speed, and direction,
Direction primarily, and how they use the wind. I learned, it was told to me years ago about my mentor, and he said, Brian, a lot of people think deer use the wind nose in, and they will check, and when an open particular, if they're going to a field, they will walk around it and catch the wind off of it. And he told me, he said, but primarily deer walk downwind, crosswind.
Yeah.
And I had to think about that. And he's like, he didn't hunt with cameras. He didn't know all this kind of stuff. He's like, they do. And I'm like, are you? He said, listen to me. He said they've got big old ears that they're listening to everything in front of them. He said, but if you'll notice where they are in relation to their eyes, that's the blind spot, is what's behind them. Mm-hmm. He said then they're kind of set side on the eyes, so they've got this kind of periphery with the eyes. The one place that they don't know what's happening when they're walking in a direction is what's coming up behind them. He said, where do big cats and things typically like to attack them from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The rear a lot. He said, so they'll walk like that and catch the wind coming behind them, look and hear and listen to everything on the sides. And I had a particular piece of public property. I didn't kill the buck I was after, but I killed another one that day. Mm-hmm. That was a very good buck, and I've showed y'all the pictures of that deer. The one that I was really after, it was public. I probably pulled the trigger too soon on the other one, but I was on public ground, and I'm like, bird in hand,
yep,
two in the bush.
Right.
I'm shooting this one, and I had seen the one I was after. He was in a clear cut, and by the time I got up, he'd went to run this buck off. But I had set up in that tree particularly because of the way that I had learned what was going on with this particular piece of property. Big clear cut, private land, open pasture land. And I began to notice that they'd be like clockwork going down this edge of this field, or at edge of this clear cut with the field on their right hand side. Clockwork. And then all of a sudden I wouldn't see them for a week. And a camera on the other side of the clear cut, they'd be over there. And so I started and I figured out that when the wind was coming through the clear cut, going towards the private, they were walking the fence line this way and letting it blow across the clear cut where they couldn't see. Yeah. They were getting the wind of it, the scent of it, using their eyesight on all the open territory going this way. And when the wind switched, they were on the other side for the same reason. They could see out into everything on this side, and then they were smelling everything on this side. So I sat up with that in mind, and sure enough, he came through the drainage that day, and I didn't get a shot on him. There was another 8-point. They started fighting. The other 8-point ran in front of me, bird in hand. I probably should have waited for the big one. I didn't. I shot the nice 8-point. The bigger one, he's still alive today. Got pictures of him last year in the deer season. But one bit of data that I am intrigued with all the time is wind direction. And the other thing that I pay attention to and that I look at with my pictures is because I've always heard, you might be able to help me out with this, Jeremy, but overhead and underfoot with the moon. Not whether or not it's full, not whether it's waxing, crescent, all that kind of stuff. When is it overhead and when is it underfoot? major and minors, and if that plays a role. And often, anecdotal at best, I get it, but I've noticed that where I am at and what I've been doing, I do see movement. And I've done it to my son many times and my wife. Driving down the highway, deer crosses the road. I'm looking for this moon. Where's it at? Where's it at? Because I wanted to see, is it just something that I'm seeing? Is it just something that hype from some, hunting guy or whatever? Or is there something to it? And I have found that overhead and underfoot, there's something to it.
I know a lot of people that buy the moon guides, and, man, they believe in it. And look, I look at them. I will look at the majors, minors, overhead, underfoot every day, but I don't make any decisions based off of it. I don't want to say I'm more times than not, because I don't write it down and keep up with it, but I would say I have seen a correlation, but I know I've also been like, okay, here it is. I'm supposed to be seeing deer right now and nothing.
Nothing.
So, yeah, but there's so much that goes into play with all that stuff. You might not be seeing anything because they smell you.
There's that, or the pressure on that particular piece of property, or somebody else.
I think there's so many variables at play. It's hard to determine whether or not that plays a role. Of course, research says it don't.
Yeah.
But we learn new things every day. So who says research one day won't show that it does?
Right. Right.
Who knows?
Just a correlation, like I said, anecdotal at best, and it could be where, like I said, I'm at. Also, there's a lot of determining factors on why something doesn't show up,
right?
Why it does, and we've talked about that. Mm-hmm. One thing we can't control, particularly on public, and I hunt a lot of public, you can't control what somebody else is doing. You could have done everything perfect, and somebody else, a ridge over, come in the wrong way, not being aware. To them, the spot, quote unquote, that they wanted to hunt, the wind could be perfect, but you're blowing wind a ridge over onto the ridge that the other guy's hunting, and I could be doing the same thing unknowingly, messing up somebody else's deer move and messing up somebody else's hunt. There's just so many factors that you don't really know. But in my opinion, when I validate what I feel like is going on, if it starts and it happens regularly enough, I'm like, okay, well, we're on to something here.
Yep.
But wind direction and how deer use property based on that is probably the thing that I've paid attention to and been like, oh, okay, there's something.
Yep.
There's something to that.
Oh, most definitely. And one of the, it's not necessarily wind direction related, and it's not camera technology related, but one of the things that I have found to be one of the number one things people don't pay attention to is ingress, egress, how they get in and out of the woods.
Yeah.
I think that's a shortcoming for most hunters. I would quantify it with most. I think they try to do everything else right, and they overlook that step.
Yeah,
and I'm just as guilty.
I think we pay a lot of attention on what direction does the wind need to be going when I get to my tree, my blind, my shooting house.
Yep.
But they don't pay attention and don't know or realize where they're coming from.
Yep. And look, I'm as guilty as the next guy. Of course, we don't hunt a lot of big woods, but, what do you guys sound like walking through big hardwood timber? And if you're just walking straight and got a place in mind, you're whoosh, 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 whoosh. Deer hear that. Turkeys hear that. All the critters hear that. You don't sound like anything else in the woods. They know something's up.
Yep.
They don't necessarily know it's human, but they know that don't sound right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
100%. I agree with that.
Let's see. We got time for one more here. I think let's save the best one for last. Brian, if somebody gave you 5 trail cameras and a brand new property you've never set foot on before, how would you use those 5 cameras to figure out that piece of property? I know you didn't get a size of the property, so we don't know if we're talking about 100 acres or 5,000 acres or whatever. But just use your imagination, I guess.
Well, I can tell you, I would pull up. First thing I would do, I'd pull up Onyx or a mapping software, and I've got a couple. I've used Google Maps. It's called GPS Map. It gives me a little bit better contours.
Oh, you sound like me. I've got half a dozen on my phone.
and then I got Onyx. And honestly, the first thing I'm going to look for is creeks, saddles, benches.
So topography,
and cover. Now, I may not be able to necessarily identify the cover from off of the map.
Right.
But they've got overlays on Onyx right now that tell you where the food is from a standpoint historically where there's mass dropping trees and things like that. And
that is surprisingly accurate, by the way.
It is.
Showing the oak trees and that.
It is
surprisingly accurate.
Hey, they've helped me out on the SOAs. Absolutely.
So I'm gonna look at that, and then I'm gonna go to that spot first. If I've got fingers that form a hub, I'm going there first. Particularly if it's got historical oaks and there's a creek, water, and I'm going to see are there any thick spots, and that's where I'm going to go first. And if I get there and there's sign, I'm going to hang a camera on it. Particularly if it's a hub, I'm going to hang it where I can, because they relate to those hubs. I've noticed it just time and time again. Deer relate to hubs, and sometimes a hub is not necessarily as defined in the South in Louisiana as it is in some areas.
Maybe 10 inches of elevation.
Yeah, but they relate to them. They relate to fence lines. They relate to ridges. And the other thing I would do, if I don't have that, if I don't have a ridge, a hub, or something like that that's well defined, clear cuts.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm gonna walk around. The first thing I'm gonna do is walk around the edge of that clear cut, and I'm gonna come off of that.
So, assuming that you find one of each of those features, like you find a good saddle, you find a good hub, you find some fingers, you find clear cut. Like, are you just going to drop a camera at each one of those places, or?
I'm gonna run some boots on the ground. I really am. I'm gonna spend a day walking that particular, and depending on how big a piece of property is, right? But if I see a lot of sign, I'm gonna hang a camera, and I'm gonna say, okay, let's see what's coming and going out of this hole.
Yeah. Let's
see what's coming and going out of this trail. And then, where they start is not necessarily where they end up.
That's right.
But I always want to get a starting point, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk around the edges because we all know white-tailed deer are edge creatures. Walk around the edges. If there's water, I'm going to walk the creek. If it's a deep creek, I want to walk it until I find an area where if they can't jump across it, where it gets shallow enough for them to cross, I'm going to find a creek crossing. And then I'm going to start getting some data from the cameras about that. And I'm going to go on OnX, and I'm going to put those cameras on OnX. And then I'm going to kind of start looking at it from the high. And then I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm only getting 2 pictures here in the past month. Maybe I need to tweak it a little bit. And I'm going to go back walking foot. But, again, just first time I'm walking out there, and I got 5 cameras on my back in my backpack with my – that's what I'm doing. I'm walking the edges, and I'm probably going to stay out of the thick. I'm going to stay on the edges and try to get an idea of what's coming and going, and then dial it in after that.
Well, I think it's important to note what he said. The guy that works for a trail camera company and said, I'm probably going to put boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no substitute for that, guys. Like, I think there's some incredible technology, and I know we haven't talked a ton about specifically about what wise eye offers in that regard, but there's just not a substitute for just getting your butt out there and taking a look with your eyeballs, and seeing what you can see. Because I mean, I know. Well, we talked about it on the hog hunt, but I've been on an SOA before where, like, me and my buddy that we both went down there to hunt, that's a term now, is e-scouting. We e-scouted the crap out of that. I mean, the best that we possibly could. All the layers, the mass-producing trees, like 3D. I pull it up on my computer and get the 3D model of it so you can see the topography better. And we have like 5 spots picked out of, like, all right, worst case scenario, we've got 5 places we can hunt.
Yeah.
And then you actually get there for the hunt, and you're like, none of these are going to work.
Yep.
Because you can't see how thick it is. You know what I mean? When you get in there, you think, well, that's – or even if something looks like when that photo was taken from the air, it was a food plot. It ain't a food plot now, though, or whatever. Like, it's just we had to completely scrap months of e-scouting to just go, all right, well, it's time for us just to be woodsmen, and figure out what is going to work now, because our plan is shot. So I'm glad you said that, though.
I love corners.
Yeah.
Corner and a clear cut. If I'm going to walk anywhere, if they got a clear cut, that's probably the first thing I'm going to walk. Honestly, if there's a clear cut, I'm walking the clear cut. Now in Louisiana, I'm probably going to come out the other end of it looking like I've been in a fight with some sort of wampus cat or something. I'm going to be bleeding, And I've gotten home and my wife said, "My God, what happened to you?" Walked around the clear cut, but corners of the clear cut. The particular piece of property that I was talking about, I hung up a camera in a corner, and then I hung up a camera in a fence opening, and I hung a camera on the other side of a drainage running through the clear cut. There was a hole in the fence, and then there was a corner. I hung a camera at each spot, and over a period of a year, I probably got a picture of every deer on that piece of property.
Yeah.
Because they were using that. Now, it didn't mean that that's where I hunted. I never hunted other than the camera on the far where the drainage come out. I hunted that. I killed a huge hog, and I showed you all the picture of it.
Yep.
And it was either the hog or the deer, and the hog showed up first, and I shot him. He was 300-something pounds. But he was using the property the same way as the deer were. Mm-hmm. And now, I had other cameras that I had positioned after that to see what was going on. But it was the same deer showing up. It was about 600 acres.
Right.
It was the same deer showing up on the other cameras. Kind of gave me a better idea of where they were at during some of the areas when they weren't on here. But I got pictures.
Yeah.
Right.
But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't have just got in there.
Yeah.
And that's how I do it.
See, so many people would have answered that. Well, I would have found a big scrape that was there, or a big trail.
Rub line.
Yeah, rub line. I'll get on some water. I'll put it on salt lick. I'll put it on apple corn, and I'll put it on plain. I'll put it on plain corn. Yeah. We'll see which one.
Yeah.
They pick out one terrain feature and some water, but then the rest is going to be some type of attractant.
That's funny.
I put on public ground, most of my cameras are way back.
Yeah.
They're way back. They're back where they're coming from, and then I figured out how to get to them.
Mine are in the southeast. When I hunt public ground in the Midwest, I'm a little different. A lot of times I'll hunt right up next to the parking areas and stuff.
Yeah.
People are walking by and ignoring, and I mean, we've told stories about some of the bucks that've been killed that way. And of course, that's probably getting more popular now as more and more people are projecting their success on social media.
No doubt. One last one. We got to do it real quick. I was going to ask you, do you think, because we have so much technology now at our disposal, stuff like that, especially with like the amount and types of data that can be collected with specifically with Wise Eyes stuff. It seems like that all of those things are a significant advantage, and are making us better and more efficient and those sort of things. Do you think that cameras can make people worse hunters?
Yes.
In what way? Just lazy?
Get lazy.
Yeah. I mean, I think so too.
It's a tool. You know, and I equated this earlier to, rangefinders. I can have a rangefinder and it tells me it's 20 yards, but if I can't hit a spot at 20 yards with my bow and I don't practice, then that rangefinder ain't doing me any good. Yep. And the same token, I respect the animal enough that I'm out in my yard shooting. I shoot on my knees. I'll step out to 40 or 50 or 60 yards, not because I think that may be where I'm going to get a shot from. But if I do, I want to make sure that I can do it or the bow can do it, or I'll know that I can't do it. And that's what but more than anything, it's a practice point, because if I'm used to, if I can shoot consistently this at 40 yards, when I get to something at 20 yards, it looks like it's that.
That's right.
Playing
baseball looks like you're hitting a beach ball.
It hones me in. So, I mean, I can, and again, I'm not a target shooter. But on the same token, when you're looking at cameras, look, I work for Wise Eye. We have some excellent product. We have some excellent data that backs up the camera, send the pictures to the app, and then the app takes it and tells you 3,500 pictures that are taken, 1,250 of them were taken at 7 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock in the morning, and they were taken at 1,030 millibars of barometric pressure. The wind was southwest. You name what you want, it's deer. Poop, there's your pictures. This is what it is, and this is when they're moving, and this is the barometric pressure on it. It takes all those spreadsheets that we've done over the years and do it. But you still have to do it right.
Yeah.
You still have to know that I need to, some people, and they poo-poo. I still need to be clean when I go out there.
Yep.
I still need to pay attention to the direction that the wind is going, not – again, we talked about this, not just what's happening at the tree I'm sitting in, but where are they coming from, and can I get to that without blowing them out? Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're sitting perfect in the tree, but we've walked past all of them on the way to it, and you got to know that.
Yep.
And if you don't know that and you're just hunting by camera, I'm telling you right now, it is a tool to be used to collect the data to make you a better hunter.
Well, you said something that I'm going to steal and use, and I've never really, even though it's exactly what it is, I've never really correlated it to that. But as a force multiplier, it just gives you it in that sense. They have made us more efficient, but I think in making us more efficient at harvesting animals, it has made us lazy. Mm-hmm. So. Everybody may think, oh, I'm a better hunter. I'm killing deer that I never would have killed before. Well, you've become more efficient at targeting, finding, and killing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your woodsmanship skills have picked up, and they may have even declined some.
I can tell you right now, and I don't consider myself a professional hunter. I have killed some good deer. I've been blessed. Lord's blessed me. I've killed some. I'm not killed trophy deer. Not in a lot of people's eyes. They were trophies to me.
Right.
I've killed deer regularly on public ground when I've had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time in there. I feel confident tomorrow. I feel confident right now. If all of a sudden I didn't have access to one more camera and somebody said you can't use cameras anymore, okay.
No problem.
No problem.
I know where they are.
Yeah.
Deer are deer, and my woodsmanship skills are the point to where I may not know exactly what he looks like when he gets there, before he gets there, or she gets there, or they get there, but I can see deer.
Yeah.
I use it as a tool to enhance what's going on as a force multiplier from the standpoint as I can't be at 17 places at once. Mm-hmm. if he didn't show up here or they didn't show up here, but they showed up 2 blocks over or two ridges over, why were they there and not here?
Yep.
If we could take that information and say, why did they get over here today instead of where I was at? Take that information back and say, did I do something?
Yep.
And log that information behind, because oftentimes could be we didn't do nothing. They just happened to be over there. Could be the tree I was hunting dried up and they found another one that they preferred more. Could be somebody else come in from some way. They didn't quite make it to me and they deviated and took another route. But look at that and try to figure that out.
Yeah.
Try to figure out why. I don't know why, but deer love corners.
Absolutely.
They're drawn to them.
Inside corners, golly, I don't know how many deer we've killed through the years in the Midwest.
Oh, God,
just
yeah.
on inside field corners. I mean, it's murder.
Yeah.
Just go sit them.
Yeah.
With no other data, just go sit them.
Just go sit them. Just about. And a saddle.
Yeah.
A well-positioned saddle. Every deer that's in the property is going to, particularly if they're on a steep ridge, because they're lazy too, they don't want to go up more if they can go through this little area. Every deer on the property, figure out how to hunt it. I could go kill deer without cameras. Now, does it provide me enjoyment? Yes. I love to watch it.
Oh, me too.
We've got our
Mine's
cameras
been going
and,
off while we've been sitting here.
Yeah. What's do I enjoy that? Absolutely. But sometimes, do I miss and do I just go out without one? Yep. You know why? Because I want to be surprised what shows up.
Well, I mean, I think it's also, you said it being a tool. It's like a lot of things. It's not a either or situation. It's a both and. Like just because you have a very high-tech piece of equipment that is taking inventory for you does not mean that you just throw your woodsmanship out the window. It's both. It's you know, continue to do both of those things so that you can be as good as you can be.
Well, I equate it to shooting. You know, y'all know I'm a gun guy and a shooter.
Really? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Had no idea.
Yeah. Good equipment absolutely makes things easier. I mean, a Remington 700 out of the box, yeah, you might get one that shoots great, but most of them, they just shoot average. Are you going to shoot an average shooting rifle at 1,000 yards and be able to hit what you're aiming at? Probably not.
Probably not.
I mean, just the accuracy or precision of that said rifle at that distance may not put you on target even if you're doing your part. But then you go and buy or spend money on a custom rifle that's, albeit, you know, a lot of them are several $1,000s to get in that range. If you can squeeze the trigger and breathe a little bit, most guys can get you to hit a 1,000-yard target fairly easily with good equipment.
Yes.
But you have to do your part.
Yes.
And then you've got to throw in, if it's calm, shooting 1,000 yards isn't all that hard. Throw in an 8-mile-an-hour wind.
Crosswind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, oh, by the way, at 100 yards, it's 4 mile an hour. That's a dead 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock wind. At 600 yards, it's coming at you. You know, at 12 mile
coming
an hour,
across the top,
yeah,
creating a downdraft.
something crazy.
Yeah.
You know, you've got all these changes from you to your target. Yes, good equipment helps, but it don't pull the trigger for you.
It don't pull the trigger for you. And I you know, one thing, you're looking at the MC2, you're looking at the DC2, and you look at the difference in the cameras, and you've got SD cards, and you're looking at the advent of cellular game cameras as opposed to the SD cards. It keeps you from going in and making those touches, unnecessary touches in the woods, which helps you out by not spreading scent. Because if anybody here was like I was with the SD cards, I wanted to go out there every other day or so and pull them because I want to see what's there. So now you don't have to. It's sending you that picture to your phone.
That's right.
So you got less interaction, you know, doing all that. But again, I said this earlier, and let me say this again. if you're using our products, if you're using cellular activated game cameras, please do. Do it. Let it be a tool. But please don't get out in the woods or allow it to stop you from going because you're not seeing something on it.
That's right.
Yep.
Trust your woodsmanship. Trust and know that overnight the aliens ain't showed up and sucked them all out of the woods. They're there. Get out there and enjoy nature.
Yep.
And let it be a tool. Looking at your phone, seeing what you can't see when you're not there, seeing what's actually there, and making your decision on what you want to chase. That is a good point. That they're going to show you, if you place them in the proper areas, you place them where the areas where you're going to get some nice concentration, they're going to show you what's there. Maybe you don't want to be in all the areas where all the deer are at, but you're wanting to chase that certain one. Allow it to help you do that and enjoy it, but learn those deer and understand that just because they're not on camera doesn't mean that they're not there. Go out and enjoy the woods.
That's right.
Amen.
Well, guys, we're going to wrap this one up pretty quick. Jeremy's camera's about to die, I think. So
Yeah.
But listen, we really appreciate Brian for being here. That's a long trek from Louisiana to come up to North Alabama and hang out with us.
And
really
we
appreciate you.
took him and fed him Cajun food.
And he gave it the stamp of approval.
Yeah, it was good.
Certified,
Yeah, it was good.
verified Cajun said
so
it's good.
Papa Doobies.
Shout out Papa Doobies.
Shout out to you guys. A true Cajun gave you thumbs up.
That's right.
Yeah, it was good. It really was.
And as always, guys, please like, share, subscribe. You'll be notified whenever we do upload new episodes drop. And leave us a review. I've noticed that Spotify – it died. Spotify and Apple and stuff like that, you can leave reviews. And so, obviously, it would be awesome if you'd leave us a good one. But if you have to leave a bad one, just leave a bad one, I guess.
Please leave bad ones because I like responding to those. That's more fun.
And last thing I want to say is something we've not mentioned in a while is the Habitat Network, something that is still kicking. And obviously we're still getting our legs underneath us as far as getting this thing off the ground. And
yeah, primarily my fault, y'all.
No,
I'm busy.
We're all being pulled in a million different directions. But we are adding to that every day. There have been more subscribers. There's been more professionals. And if you're not familiar with it, just check out thehabitatnetwork.com. It's just a network of southeastern habitat professionals, drone pilots, foresters, burn practitioners, and biologists. Right now, we're going to be adding to that too.
Yep.
But if you need help for managing your property in your neck of the woods in the southeast, odds are we have somebody in your neck of the woods that can help you do that. So. Get signed up. It gives you a couple different perks. You're going to get access to a library of content that all of our professionals contribute to, as well as a Facebook group that is private. As long as you pay for a membership, it's $45 for the year. You guys, it's not a ton of money. Spend more than that when you go to Chick-fil-A, for your family. You can get access to that group. You can share photos. You can share videos. You can, ask questions. All of the professionals are in there, and it's awesome. It's a good way to.
I promise you can get $45 worth of information a year out of the professionals.
Absolutely. So we really appreciate you guys, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Out.